And this is part 2 of 2 parts on tape. So we're going to get down to it, and we're going to start with duct tape. Very, very crappy duct tape. This is Duct brand duct tape. Whatever you do, do not use it for ducts. It will barely stick to. This is just rubbish. I don't know why Duct brand keeps on cheapening themselves by making such awful tape. It really has no use at all. It doesn't stick to paper, it barely sticks to itself. They make an exterior version which lasts about 8 hours longer before the fabric, which is pathetically, not much fabric in there, glue's not very good, the vinyl membrane is not very strong. It takes about 2-3 days before it comes off and leaves all the glue stuck to your car or whatever you're using it for. So let's ignore duct tape and move on to gaffer tape. Gaffer tape is named, or gaff tape, named after the position on a film crew where you stand around, shout and point and squint. The gaffer. And gaff tape is invariably has a matte finish so that the camera won't pick it up when light hits it. Comes in a variety of sizes, colours, shapes. Well, round, it doesn't come in different shapes. And the nice thing about gaffer tape is that it will tear very, very easily. And so you can make little strips very easily. And then if you've ever been on a film set or anywhere a film set has been, when they leave, everything has little white or green or black or fluorescent crosses everywhere, which are places for people to stand, where to put the camera, tripod, where the track goes, people's eye lines, whatever. Everything will be covered in little bits of tape. So it's important that you can tear the tape into nice little pieces without using any tools like a knife or a pair of scissors. The glue is also not that strong. The idea of gaffer tape is you can remove it. It's removable. It's a professional tape. So it's not meant, if you try and hold your car together with this, once the sun hits it, the glue will dry out and it'll just fall off and a cloud of dust will come up. So it's temporary, for temporary uses. If you do want something with a bit more oomph to it, you would go up to the duct tape on steroids, which in this case we've got Gorilla Tape and T-Rex tape. And this is kind of more like gaffer tape in that it has a very fine weave, cotton probably, material in there, but it's got glue that will not give up. I mean, my fingers are filthy, this table is filthy, and I'm not cleaning my, I can just, and that's, again, it just keeps sticking. It's marvelous stuff. It's not marvelous if you want to take something apart and you rip off the wallpaper or paint or any kind of finish. But again, the brand doesn't matter. I'm not a fan of either one of these. Well, I'm a fan of both of them. I'm sure somebody will come out with some other dinosaur which is even meaner than T-Rex, and they'll name the next phase of glue after them. Tarp tape. This is kind of like duct tape. It doesn't have any threads in it. It's designed to stick to, is it polyethylene they make tarps out of? I'm not really sure, but stick to those hard to stick to plastics. It sets by using a hairdryer or a hot air gun set to very low. Or you can leave it out in the sun for a few hours and get it nice and hot, and it will patch tears and rips in tarpaulins. Even if you use this stuff, once it's been outside for a few days in the sun, you'll find the glue does come off this too. Moving on once more. Foil tape. So if you did, for some bizarre reason, want to seal your ducts, this would be the stuff to use, because the foil in it allows it to conform and kind of stay there. So even if the adhesive goes a bit south, the tape will probably stay in place. But that said, the tape generally is really only as good as the adhesive that holds it on. So again, broken record, buy decent quality tape. The leader in foil tapes is Nashua, to the point they even put their name on the outside of their tapes. And I'm starting to feel oppressed by this pile of tapes here. I'm going to have to move off to the corner. Anyway, so if you're buying foil tapes for any use, ducts or otherwise, again, it's better to buy the thicker tape and buy a brand where you can rely on the adhesive, because that's what's going to hold it in place. Nashua and a few other people who make tapes. Again, most of the time, if there's a name and a brand on the inside of the tube, that's generally good enough. It's when there's nothing on the inside, it doesn't even say what it is, that you should be suspicious and not buy that tape. You will regret it. So you can get hot and cold formulas for these, for using inside for cold weather, wrapping ducts that are going to be outside. You can also buy this as flashing. So it comes in rolls, maybe this tall, and you would use it on the outside of houses. And it has the kind of glue, more like the VHB type glue on the back, incredibly sticky. You just kind of mush it into place, and generally it'll hold up because it's designed for flashing or outdoors in freezing cold and baking sun. Another use of this, which I've found very handy, handy, is when I'm welding, especially welding aluminum, and I'm in real close, and I'm holding something, what tends to happen is I destroy gloves by the leather getting burnt and my fingers getting burnt with them. This, though the tape itself fairly quickly self-destructs, the adhesive gets too hot, the tin foil, the foil, acts as a very good reflector, so the heat doesn't get to my glove very quickly. You can get this foil tape in various thicknesses. If you look online, you can find specialty manufacturers who will make fairly thick tape, but fairly thick foil that has adhesive on the back of it. And if you want to put something on a hot light, for example, or near a fireplace, then you're probably not going to be able to use a self-adhesive tape. You can buy heavy-duty foil, which does not have an adhesive on the back of it, and you just hold it in place mechanically or with baling wire like your grandpappy did in the Depression. So, that's foil tapes. Up next. And insulating tape. Stop all those angry pixies getting out. So, here I'm going to say for the nth time, buy the best damn quality insulating tape you can. If you were doing a series of sockets with wire nuts and taping the wire nuts, like a good person would do, and wrapping your outlets, you might use a foot of insulating tape per outlet. And I think the best quality, and by best quality of course I'm referring to 3M, the love of my life, electrical tape, I think this is about between $2 and $3, maybe $4 for 66 feet, which works out to be 6 cents a foot. So if you're using a foot per outlet, that's 6 cents. That's pretty good peace of mind for 6 cents. You can, of course, buy this kind of tape. Harbor Freight sells them in stacks of 10. They're about this big when they're brand new, which, just as a comparison, an even fuller one. That's not just a few times more tape, that's about 8 times more tape you get. And what you don't get is a deep sinking feeling of disappointment when you use it, knowing that if you come back to it in about 15-20 minutes, the glue will have gone all slimy and it will have unwound itself. So bear in mind, your future self will hate you if you cheap out on insulating tape, and you may set fire to somewhere, which is always a bonus. So, the only other thing to say about electrical tape is learn how to apply it. If I have something I can apply electrical tape to, which I don't, cut. And we're back. Now I'm going to very usefully put insulating tape on this. You might think I know how to use tape. You peel it off the roll, you put the sticky side down, you wind it round. Bob's your brother-in-law. This is not actually true. What you do is this. Forgive me if you know what I'm doing. I do now. So let's say you've got a splice, much like, as a good example, I have managed 3 times to cut through the cable of this jigsaw using the jigsaw itself, running over its own cable. So I'm an idiot, that's one true thing, but I'm quite good at putting on tape to cover up those bare wires. This is probably repairs that have been done more than 5 years ago, and this is just lying on the floor of the shop most of the time. It still hasn't unwound. And why is that? It's because, first of all, do a couple of loops around so the one end can't possibly even look like it's going to get loose. And then going at an angle, nice and tight, very tight. So there are no bubbles, there's no nothing. And then what do? Well, you just cut it off and push it down. That's not true. What you do is when you get to about here, when you've got about 2 more turns left, cut it off. And cut it off. Don't let your my greasy fingers touch the end of that. And now we're not going to stretch the tape. Because what we want to do is have a little bit at the end that's not under tension. Because what inevitably will happen if it is under tension, it will undo itself. The end will come loose, it'll catch on something, it'll be sticky, it'll be unsightly. So always the last couple of wraps are not under tension. All the other ones can be under tension. And that's all I know about insulating tape. Next is Velcro. This isn't a Velcro tape per se, it's got hook on one side and loop on the other side. And we have to say hook and loop because otherwise the lawyers from the Velcro Corporation will come and crush me like a bug. So, you're probably all familiar with what Velcro is. It's a bunch of fibers like this that are loops, literally loops, and then a bunch of hooks which come in and catch the loops. The way that Velcro stops working generally is that the loops get torn open so they become strands, and then the hooks no longer have anything to hook onto. To try and remedy that, Velcro has come out with Velcro Extreme. This is probably a few years old. It's also billed as titanium strips. I suspect there's no titanium in any of this. It's just kind of grey. It does work pretty well. This is like super heavy duty industrial Velcro. You can buy this in rolls of almost any length, any width. You can buy it on stick-on dots. You can buy it in fabric that you just sew onto things, so it doesn't have sticky on the back of it. I tend to use the sticky version because I'm not much of a seamster. Because it's the loop side that tends to go first, I would always advise you putting the hook side, this side, on the part that you either can't get to again or you don't want to have to replace or will get damaged if you do replace it. So that makes the loop side, the part that's going to wear out and get replaced first. And Velcro is pretty useful. It does have its downsides in that if you've ever washed anything that's got Velcro on it, it attracts everything. As you can see, my little drawer of specialty Velcro just becomes one big blob if you're not careful. And it's not that strong. It does have a limited lifespan. So if you need more strength, move up to mushroom tape. You've probably seen some if you have one of these, which is a transponder from a tollway. They're normally affixed to your windscreen with some sticky back dual lock. It's not Velcro, it's mushroom tape. Of course it's made by 3M. And what it is it's a kind of tape. You can sew it on or stick it on. It comes in all kinds of varieties and widths and lengths and colours. It's a series of little plastic heads that look like mushrooms. And it sticks to itself. It doesn't need a hook and a loop. It's all hook. And when the heads interlock with each other, they make a very, very strong bond. They say it's about 5 times stronger than the best Velcro. And it really does go click when you put it into place. I can't recommend this stuff enough. Again, I'm shilling for 3M, not really, though I'm willing to, because their products are fucking excellent, pardon my French. Next up, pinstriping tape, which is really just vinyl tape with an exterior grade adhesive on it. What's interesting about this is you can get it cut to any length. They slit it. So these rolls came off a bigger roll, and a machine just went with a big knife, and as it span around, the roll span around, you can say, I'd like a piece an eighth of an inch thick, wide rather, 1/4 of an inch, 3/16, and lo and behold, they'll cut it for you. And it's reasonably inexpensive. Now we're going to go through fairly quickly a series of kind of random tapes. This is the bottom of the drawer, remember? So this is self-fusing silicone tape. The idea is that it only sticks to itself, so it's not actually sticky. No, it sticks to nothing else apart from itself. And supposedly it bonds with itself and you can't get it off. And according to the adverts anyway, it'll fix a pressurized pipe. And if you believe that BS, send $5 to Dumb as a Post, P.O. Box 18, Chicago, Illinois, with my name on it. Next up is, oh, I love this stuff. This is UHMW polyethylene tape, and it's difficult to get out of the bag because it's been in there a long time. And what it is very, very low friction. This is almost as low friction as Teflon. And one of the problems with it is that because it's such low friction, it's very difficult to stick things to it. So you can buy this tape where it's already got some goo stuck to one side with a special adhesive. So if you want to make drawer slides or something where you need a very, very high coefficient or low coefficient of friction, I'm not sure which, you need very low friction. UHMW tape, and again it's sticky as all get out. You can buy Teflon tape also that has double stick on it. Okay, you're starting to oppress me. Traction tape. Of course, this is all made by 3M again, but marvelous stuff. This comes in rubber. Peel it off on a nice clean stairway or treads. Will stick very well. It's textured rubber for grip. Also comes in a sandpaper effect. This is also sandpaper effect tape. What else we got? Oh, insulating tape. Not that kind of insulating. Gap filling insulation tape. Generally these are very low quality. The adhesive is very low quality as well. It's really only enough to hold itself on. Comes in obviously a million different sizes and thicknesses. How about this? Drywall tape. So drywall tape comes in two flavors. It comes in paper tape, which I'm not sure if that has an adhesive on it. Probably does. No, it doesn't appear to have an adhesive. Maybe you wet it and put it on, or you just lay it into the mud when you're doing that. The fiberglass tape has just a little bit of a stick to it, so it's just enough to go over the seams to prevent cracking, and then you mud over it and sand it off. Comes in super duper fiberglass. Comes in colours. I'm not sure why. Maybe so you can see it more easily. Okay, so how about this is Sorbethane. It's not really a tape, but it has sticky on the back of it, and it came in a roll, so I'm going with tape. But it's 1/8 of an inch thick. This is for sound and shock absorbing purposes. Anything that's got a sticky on the back of it, I'm calling it a tape. What else do we? Oh, we have this. This is butyl rubber, or on a film set is known as gorilla snot. This is a piece of a gel from a light that it's been sitting in and making an unpleasant noise. And this piece of gorilla snot hasn't been used for 10 years maybe, and it's still sticky as all get out. This is the stuff they use to stick your windscreen into your car when you get it replaced, when you break your windscreen. This gooey, it's super gooey. It does come on a roll, but it always ends up like this. It will stain walls, be careful. And it's marvelous stuff for what it does. Works underwater, very good for jamming into little holes if you have a little bit of a leak somewhere. Low pressure leak. What's up next? Let me have a look. That's not going to work. As I say, it's called gorilla snot, and it's not a term of affection. It's coming off of my fingers, and now everything I touch is sticky. Yeah, let's put that there, and it's like bubble gum. We'll find it later. Teflon tape. Again, is it a tape? It's not a sticky tape. It's literally just very, very thin Teflon you use to put on pipe threads to ease installation and prevent leaks. But it doesn't come with sticky on one side. So there are a couple of different kinds, more than a couple of different kinds of Teflon tape, which is properly called PTFE because Teflon is the brand name of the DuPont company, and we don't want them suing me because they've got deep pockets and I don't. So there's red, which is the thinnest, then blue, which is slightly thicker. yellow for gas, and this is just the color of the container, not the tape is all white. Yellow for gas, green for oxygen, and pink for steam. So the only other thing to remember is how to apply this stuff so it doesn't come off when you thread another piece of pipe on. So what we're going to do, looking at the end of the pipe, the tape's going to go around in a clockwise motion. And if you hold the tape roll like this, it tightens it up as it goes around, and you can, if you don't let go of the tape, once it's got one wrap on, you can let go and do 2 or 3, and then work your way down to the end of the threads. And then at the end, just snap it off, roll it over with your finger, and now that's nice and tight. You can see the tape has gone into the threads, and when you put another fitting on here, it won't ball up and unwind. What else do we have? Excuse the temporal shift. I forgot one, so we had to go back. So when we're building globes, quite often the client wants the continents to be a different color than the background grid of the Earth, the longitude and latitude lines. And for that, we need a tape which will put up with about 450 degrees of powder coating heat. And for that, we use powder coating masking tape. It comes in a variety of sizes and strengths and resistance to heat. But this will put up with about 475 degrees for about half an hour without leaving any of its glue behind or shrinking or buckling. So powder coating masking tape. Aha, one more. Kapton tape. It's a kind of tape you'll find. This helicopter had an accident with a paintball gun repeatedly until it couldn't fly anymore. A little bit of Kapton tape, which is an insulator, but it's dielectric as well. So it's not really an insulator. If you want to expand your brain a little bit, look up dielectric versus insulation on Google, and your mind will expand or become smaller like a hard walnut. Last but not least, no tape collection is complete without some crime scene tape. So that's all, I think, the tape I've got in my shop. But what are the takeaways from this? Well, use the right tape, do the right surface preparation, and when you get the tape on there, burnish it in place if you want it to stay. I hope you've enjoyed this and found it useful. If so, subscribe, do the bell, whatever else you want me to do. I'll put some links down below to some of these tapes, some of the more esoteric ones. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.